The Batman Arkham series is a series that maybe because of a later entry, I feel like people forget just how incredible these games are.
You motherfucking piece of shit! When I spend $60 on a fucking game, I expect it to fucking work!
It's a bold statement, but amongst this series is, in my opinion, the two best superhero games of all time. This series created a blueprint into how to make characters that are superhuman work in games. They make sure that when you are fighting thugs and villains, that when you are flowing with combos, you feel like a true hero, but also making sure you know you aren't invincible. And really, Batman is the perfect hero to center a game like this around. This series makes you feel like Batman. And I've grown up as someone who watched a lot of the Caped Crusader, from the Batman animated series, the Tim Burton movies, the Joel Schumacher movies, and yes, enjoying them on a so bad it's good level, and the Batman games on the PS1 were amongst many fond memories from my childhood. But this series started at the perfect time around the release of the Dark Knight trilogy, which are amongst some of my favourite movies of all time. But when I initially booted up Arkham Asylum, I knew back when I was 12 years old, I can't believe this game is 10 years old. What the hell? I knew I was playing something special. It's a game I go back to constantly, but I truly became inspired to play through the series again and talk about these games on the channel after watching my mate Mr. Hammer's video focused on the Scarecrow encounters in Arkham Asylum, which is a great watch, and that video will be in the description below. But it was this video that made me realize just how much there is to talk about in these games, and how much people like myself just love this series. So I'll be going back and going in depth with the series over the next month or so, going over Asylum, City, Origins, Night, and yes, even Origins Blackgate. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in for your Batman fix, subscribe to make sure you don't miss future uploads. I'll make sure it's worth it. But for now, let's talk about the game that started the series, and as of this video, I still maintain is my favourite game of the series, Batman Arkham Asylum.
I think there's a level of intensity in Arkham Asylum that has been lacking from other video games. In Arkham Asylum, it's the real world.
Rocksteady Studios is widely known as the Batman studio now, for good reason. 4 of their 5 games are about the Dark Knight. But in the beginning, back in 2007, Rocksteady was a very little known studio, only releasing 1 game prior, in Urban Chaos Riot Response, which was a pretty well received FPS back in 2006. But after the release of Urban Chaos, Rocksteady began working on many different prototypes, while at the same time, Eidos had just acquired the rights to make a Batman game. Since Eidos had published Urban Chaos, they approached Rocksteady with the project, and seeing one of the prototypes they'd been working on, Rocksteady was posed the question of, well, what would you do with Batman? And after Eidos saw their presentation, let Rocksteady begin work on the new Batman game, which started development in May of 2007. This obviously captured the attention of DC Comics, who approached writer Paul Dini, a writer and producer of the Batman animated series, who was intrigued by the idea of being involved in a Batman game, as he felt many who had tried weren't trying to be original, instead focusing on movies and TV shows, and after meeting with Rocksteady, felt his ideas were very much in keeping with Rocksteady's, and joined the team shortly after. The aim for Arkham Asylum was to make the game engaging enough for players to spend the time completing it, with a real emphasis on this on even those who are uninterested in Batman. Rocksteady did decide early on though that with Denis reprising his role as writer, that Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill and Arlene Sorkin needed to also return for this game, which as someone who again grew up with these voices for these iconic characters was incredible. Rocksteady knew they wanted to make the game more gritty and real, and obviously many inspirations were derived from the many great Batman stories, including Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth, which was a graphic novel that whilst in art school I did love to look through. It really is something special. But obviously in gameplay, the game was inspired by games like Metroid in terms of gadgets, how they can be used, obtained and such. But the most interesting of these was actually the game's inspiration from BioShock, more specifically its atmosphere and narrative, which as a massive fan of BioShock, not a bad game to get you inspired. And you can see it, Arkham does have an atmosphere and an edge to it. The game took Rocksteady just under 2 years to complete, unfortunately needing to cut many Batman characters for story purposes, but nevertheless the game released on the 25th of August 2009 to universal acclaim, many claiming it was not only the best comic game ever, but a contender for one of the best games of all time. Look, it says right here. But it's time to finally dive into what makes Arkham Asylum one of my favorite games of all time. So let's start off with the story.
Welcome to the madhouse, Batman! I set a trap and you sprang it gloriously!
Arkham Asylum begins with Batman taking the Joker to Arkham after recently recapturing him. Instead of just dropping the Joker off though, Batman feels something is off, as he feels the Joker didn't put up much of a fight, as if he wants to be here, and so Batman accompanies the Joker through Arkham. It's here as we walk through Arkham, we can see what style of Batman universe we will be in. Walking through and seeing the style of facility Arkham is really reminds me of something like the Asylum in Season 2 of American Horror Story, obviously with much more tech. It just has that Victorian vibe, like something has been going on here that isn't quite right. And as we go through and see villains like Killer Croc, who is noticeably massive and is actually intimidating, and this moment here that for me shows Batman's attitude so well.
What's he doing? Stay where you are. Get a flashlight. Get a light on him.
It all just starts the game off on the right foot. As Batman and Joker get separated, the Joker initiates his plan and kills the guard and accompanied doctor, revealing to Batman that yes, it was a trap, and ambushing Batman with his thugs, which had recently been temporarily transferred to Arkham from Blackgate. Harley takes control of Arkham's security systems, and the Joker escapes into Arkham as he is aided by a corrupt guard who kidnaps Commissioner Gordon. The Joker threatens to detonate bombs hidden throughout the city if anyone tries to enter Arkham, leaving Batman alone to find Commissioner Gordon and stop Joker. This premise is what makes the story of this game so great. Batman is left on his own to fight through many of his famous villains in what is going to be a super long night for the Caped Crusader. Whilst we are searching for Harley Quinn to try and save Gordon, Batman is exposed to Scarecrow's fear toxin, finding Gordon dead as he tries to reach Barbara to no avail. Proceeding into the morgue to find the corpses of his parents, blaming him for their deaths as he gets sucked further into his nightmares, needing to escape from Scarecrow's grasp. I love the Scarecrow encounters the most because if you aren't paying attention, they can seemingly just appear out of nowhere. But you can actually see some fear toxins seeping in before Batman starts hallucinating. And this was a subtlety I really enjoyed, as I think it just adds to the atmosphere. You know shit is about to go down when you spot these moments, and it's great. After fighting off Scarecrow, we continue tracking Harley, and after subduing her and rescuing Gordon, Joker directs them both to go downstairs where we find a captured, very sick looking Bane who has been experimented on by the Asylum doctor Penelope Young. The Joker frees Bane, and as Batman fights Bane off, Harley escapes. Batman defeats Bane with a good smack from his Batmobile and proceeds to his secret Batcave he had created on the island to learn what Dr. Young was working on, learning that she had been working on an extra strength venom called Titan. that Young was researching to help patients survive more strenuous therapies. But Young learned Joker was funding her research for his own purposes in making his thugs into an army of super henchmen, and Young refused to hand over the formula, which caused Joker's need to return to Arkham to get it. Batman learning this forces him to search for Dr. Young, which, whilst doing so, again encounter Scarecrow's fear toxins, this time hallucinating the night of his parents' death. Now I know this is the first game in the series, and it is sort of expected that they'd at least try to catch people up on the Batman mythos, but the way it is done in Asylum is so damn clever. It doesn't feel forced. It is the moment that created Bruce Wayne into Batman. It was a moment that scarred him, and is a moment where he was the most scared he has ever been. So bringing that information of his parents' death and the guilt he has for this event out in the Scarecrow sections was a stroke of brilliance, as the information isn't just shoved in your face. After again fighting off the fear toxin, Batman finds and destroys Young's Titan formula, and rescues Young as she was captured by Zsasz. Young goes to open her safe, which she finds booby-trapped by the Joker and is killed in the explosion, leaving Joker to obtain the completed batches of Titan. Batman then tracks Quincy Sharp to find Harley in the penitentiary. As we draw close, Harley releases all the inmates, including Poison Ivy. But unfortunately, once Batman catches up with her, she gets imprisoned herself, where she lets slip the fact that the Joker has a Titan production facility in the Arkham Botanical Gardens, where we proceed to go and learn that Titan is created by genetically modified plants, which leads Batman to ask for Ivy's help to create an antidote. Batman learns that the antidote can only be created from spores found exclusively in Killer Croc's lair beneath the island. Again, on his way there, Batman is again attacked by Scarecrow and his toxins, where he needs to and does overcome several doses, where we get to see that maybe Batman's greatest fear is that he might just consider himself as crazy as the villains he faces, as the intro to the game replays, and Batman is in the spot of the Joker this time. Meanwhile, Joker injects Ivy with Titan, which enhances her powers, and Ivy begins to ravage Arkham with her giant mutant plants. After fighting off Scarecrow's toxin, Batman proceeds into Croc's lair, where Scarecrow follows him, but Scarecrow is attacked and dragged underwater by Croc, ending Batman's encounters with his toxins tonight. Batman begins a game of cat and mouse with Croc as he gathers the spores for the antidote, until gathering enough and escaping back to the start of Croc's lair, where Batman had set a trap to lose Croc further down below. Batman returns to the Batcave to synthesize a cure for Titan, but only has time to create one antidote before Ivy's plants breach the cave and destroy it. Batman returns to the Botanical Gardens to defeat Ivy and stop her rampaging plants, and after doing so, Joker reveals that the party preparations are complete. Batman goes to the visitor center and is greeted by the Joker's thugs, applauding him, which, if you're me, means they all must suffer his wrath. After proceeding, the Joker tries to kill Batman in an explosion, but fails, and after continuing further, finds Joker has recaptured Gordon, and plans to shoot him with the Titan, which Batman stops by diving in front of him, and instead finds himself with Titan flowing through him, but resists its effects, leaving the Joker to shoot himself with the Titan, transforming himself and revealing to the world the effects of Titan, challenging Batman to fight his goons while he flaunts his success to the world. Batman is forced to use the antidote on himself, and after defeating Joker and his henchmen, knocks Joker unconscious with an explosive gel-enhanced punch. That to me probably should have resulted in Batman losing his hand, but he probably had some special armor that is stronger than concrete, I don't know. The aftermath shows those affected by Titan revert to normal, including Joker, who is restrained and taken back into custody as police retake the asylum. After nearly calling it a night, Batman overhears a call about a crime led by Two-Face in progress and flies back to Gotham City. Which again, I'm surprised more of Batman's villains weren't ravaging Gotham while he was stuck at the asylum. I mean, they probably were. It would have been the perfect time to commit some crimes. And post-credits, we see that a crate of Titan is floating in the water as Croc takes it under. And that is the story of Batman Arkham Asylum. Going back to the game for the who knows what time at this point, but going back and looking at it from the perspective of creating an in-depth video really made me realize how much Arkham Asylum does right. I mean, I didn't even mention the Riddler and his involvement in this segment, even though he is a continuing part of the experience. He isn't actually involved in the game's story. His battle with Batman is completely separate, and the resolution feels like wrapping up a story within a story.
What? You did it? You must have cheated. There is no way you could have beaten me. Well, you asked for it, Batman. My final challenge for the whole of Gotham is just seconds away. What? Silence. The police. You cheated, Batman. You couldn't have outsmarted me. Police, open up! No. They should open the door, now! No! Down on the ground! Down on the ground! No! Tell me, how did you work out where I was? Do you hear me? I, Edward Nigma,
Not only is the story incredible in its own right, but the stories presented through the interview tapes with the villains was such a great insight into their characters and what led them into this game. The story of Arkham Asylum was something I didn't expect to be so deep until I started to really think about what just happened. The Scarecrow encounters show a side of Batman not usually showcased. Batman's relationship with Joker is so compelling. We know Batman can't live without the Joker in it, as we see in the beginning, where he could have stopped this all from occurring. But in this universe, Joker seemingly can live without Batman. He is trying to end him throughout the game, and if that can't happen, he wants Batman to end him. He wants him to turn, and this dynamic is incredibly compelling, and honestly, could have been a whole video on their relationship here. The world Rocksteady built here, the atmosphere, the hints of Batman's villains, Arkham itself, and Batman's encounters with his famous foes is what makes this game's story so strong, and makes this Batman universe feel unique. The game being contained in Arkham Island, we are Batman facing this hellish night, and the story really works well because of this linear focus on one location, one hell of a location. Now, as much as I love the story of Arkham Asylum, when I first played the game 10 years ago, the aspect that made me feel like I was playing something special was the gameplay and its many variations. I know it's a cliche at this point, but this game makes you feel like Batman. Yes, the enemies one-on-one are a breeze. You're Batman. If the game made each enemy difficult to take out one-on-one, you wouldn't feel that same satisfaction. The game flourishes when you encounter a room filled with enemies, whether it be from a stealth perspective or brawling. Now for this playthrough, I did play the game on hard, so I will be commenting on my experience on said difficulty. And in all honesty, it is the way I'd recommend playing the game on. On this difficulty, you always feel like you are engaging your inner detective, whether it be planning your attack in a room filled with thugs with guns, or stuck in a room facing a variety of enemy types. Who do you focus on first? Who is secluded? Who are you going to use your one-shot abilities on? What obstacles are there, if any, and how does it limit your plan of attack? Even just, I think this thug is about to attack. I best be ready to counter it. Yes, the classic spidey sense above the enemy's head is gone on hard, and even that manages to engage you and your plan of attack. And all of these questions, especially related to the brawls, have to be more split-second decisions, as you need to be quick with your attacks or be taken out by lowly thugs, and no one wants that. The enemy variety also makes many of these encounters a lot of fun to figure out. My favourite involving Titan henchmen along with normal enemies, just because it's fun to make sure the henchmen bulldoze through other thugs. That feels real good. Leveling up Batman, whilst you will get every upgrade by the end, doesn't make the decisions any less interesting, as you still need to figure out what you want to make a priority. Like myself, who initially prioritized health due to playing on hard, then going to combos, and you can feel the way you play change every level or new gadget. Once we enter the stealth though, even though here there is little room for error and the enemies do seem to end Batman's life a little too easily on hard, when you pull off a well executed plan of attack, it feels incredible. When you are slowly picking off goons and they are gradually growing more and more panicked, it just feels good. And usually there is so many different ways to approach each situation. Do you go from gargoyle to gargoyle, picking off unlucky thugs who walk past? Maybe you hide in the vents and floor grates and wait for the right time to strike. Maybe it's a mixture of the two and chuck in some explosions because why not? Batman's many gadgets are gradually introduced, which introduces that Metroid vibe as you go back to previously explored areas in search of Riddler trophies or puzzles, or just going back to an area for the story. Which on the Riddler challenges, these are a blast to find, my personal favourites being, well, the riddles, especially the ones relying on both your knowledge of Batman and his universe and your attention to detail. When you solve these, it does make you feel smart, and these challenges are a must complete for me each and every time, because they are a blast to find. Now whilst the boss fights themselves are honestly not great in terms of challenge, as spectacles, while you are playing them, they are great to experience, and as a boss fight, Poison Ivy is probably the best one, with a mixture of brainwashed guards attacking you in an arena that is constantly changing, where it is safe to be and where it isn't, and needing to have quick reflexes to shoot off a batarang and dodge an incoming attack does feel good to perfect. The rest of the bosses are very easy though, especially Joker, who doesn't even really attack you. My favourite to experience though is surprisingly the Croc encounter, even though when you actually face him, he gets stunned by one batarang. But needing to move slowly around his lair and try and stay hidden, and when you do hear him resurface but don't see him, it is a tense encounter that feels great to play. The Scarecrow encounters do also act as sort of a break in terms of gameplay. The focus on avoiding Scarecrow's gaze from a 2.5D perspective, whilst being incredible segments in their own right, they do really act as a breath of fresh air throughout the main story. Unfortunately, as you may have noticed with the gameplay I've been using, you use detective mode a lot, or at least I did. Now as a gameplay mechanic, I love this vision. It truly does help with the stealth encounters and obviously finding the hidden Riddler challenges. And I'm not mad at the mechanic, it is just so damn useful that you do play a lot of the game with it on. And it does take away from the game's atmosphere and aesthetic of Arkham when you are looking at a blue screen. That is really my only issue with this game. We have something so useful, and as a mechanic I liked so much, that it makes the game very blue. The gameplay of Arkham is what many other superhero games from then on have tried. Some have succeeded. Others feel like a blatant copy. You know you're onto something when others in the business of comic games liked what you did, but also maybe just can't think of a better way to do things. The combat flows really well. I mean, Batman can zip around pretty crazily, which, whilst I think it looks funny, it actually does keep the flow of combat going and making it feel so satisfying. The stealth section, slowly picking off thugs and planning your attack, is incredibly satisfying also. The bosses, whilst aren't very challenging, are spectacles in themselves and are really enjoyable to experience. And just exploring Arkham Asylum, finding the Riddler trophies and completing puzzles, and just being Batman makes this game the masterpiece that it is.
Get some rest. You deserve it.
Stay safe, Jim.
Batman Arkham Asylum is one of my favourite games of all time. I mean, I think that is pretty obvious by now. As I said in the beginning, As of this video, Arkham Asylum is personally my favorite in the series, and one of my favorite games of all time. I think the story has many underlying themes throughout. So much happens in the story that may seem irrelevant until you play the later games. The Scarecrow encounters are incredible. The back and forth between Batman and his villains are just great to experience. Arkham itself, the atmosphere, and the grittiness of this world feels like something different for Batman, and the gameplay is truly just satisfying, especially for what is, for the most part, in the beginning, a button smasher. What you can do with Batman still feels fun to play. If you are someone who has not played this game, I mean, what are you doing? This would be on my list of games that you need to play at least once. It is the best Batman game, it's the best comic game, it is one of my personal favorite games, and it started a series that is something special. Thank you guys so much for watching. This video was actually a little longer than I initially anticipated. You never know how much you love a game until you start the process of making a retrospective on it, I suppose. But if you stayed to the end, thank you. Use Batman for Life in your comments just so I get to know who managed to stick around to the end. But if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave the video a like, comment below your thoughts on Arkham Asylum. I'm assuming if you made it to this point, well, you really enjoyed it, but tell me why. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. I do videos on the regular, and as I said, next video up we'll be talking about Arkham City. If you want the best way to stay up to date with the channel, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MayorHairBear for some gaming pickups, gaming opinions, thoughts on new games, and just what I'm working on for the channel. But for now, thank you guys for watching. I hope you're all having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.